Okay, here's the first example for section 4.2. These are all calculator problems, so your first thing to do is to type this function into y1 on your calculator. Okay, so that's going to be your first challenge. Make sure you type that in properly into y1. So I'll go to my calculator, go to y equals 4x to the third plus 10x squared minus 4x minus 10, push graph. So on this one, you're going to notice that we have two turning points. We have a max up here in the second quadrant, and then a min down there in the fourth quadrant. We have 3 x-intercepts. So we're going to go ahead and find the x-intercepts first. And here's the procedure. So you're going to push second trace. We're going to go we're actually going to go to 0. Okay. Right, and then push enter. Now, I like to go from left to right. So we're looking for where it crosses the x-axis. So right there, we're looking for that point. My cursor, I can't point at it on the screen here, but we're looking for this point where it crosses the x-axis. So left bound is good. I'm going to push enter. I'll move it to the right, push enter. You don't ever need to guess on this, push enter. So we got 1, 0 is negative 2.5. So our x-intercepts, we're going to end up with 3 of them here. So it's going to be negative 2.5, comma 0. And we'll find the next one. So let's find this one that's in the middle. It's the same procedure. Second trace, go to 0. Go back to our graph. The left bound now, though, again, we're looking for this middle x-intercept. The left bound and right bound are going to change, obviously. So we're looking for that point where it crosses the x-axis. So that's a good place for the left bound. Move it back to the right. Push enter. You don't need to guess. So that's got a negative 1, comma 0. So our other x-intercept will be negative 1, comma 0. And then we have one more to find. So our third one is going to be over here somewhere. Looks like at about positive 1, but we can get that exactly in the calculator. Push second trace. Our left bound now is going to be right about there. Our right bound, move it to the right. Yep, it is 1, comma 0. All right, so our other x-intercept, 1, comma 0. We're done with part A. Your y-intercept, you do have to do that by hand. You have to remember that the y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. We did that back in chapter 1, I think. So the calculator will not help you with that. You have to use your imagination a little bit. If we go to the original function and we put a 0 in for x, this goes away, this goes away, and this goes away. We're left with just a negative 10. So our y-intercept is going to be negative 10. You just have to make sure you write it properly. So the y-intercept is 0, comma negative 10. And we're done with part B. Well, part C, we've actually done that already. Part C is just a different way of writing the answers from part A. The zeros are written in this fashion. X equals negative 2.5. X equals negative 1. and x equals positive 1. So you have your answers from part C correspond directly from your answers from part A. So this was where that came from. This one from there, and this one from there. So if you've done part A, your answers to part C should just fall right into place. The turning points for part D, that's back to the calculator. The turning points are going to be your max and min values. So we're going to go back to the calculator, and we're going to find the max and min values. So I like to go from left to right, so I'm going to do the max first. Again, we've done this before. The max is this peak right there. So left bound, right bound, don't need to guess. So this looks like negative 1.85, comma 6.3. Negative 1.85, comma 6.3. That's one turning point. And this one had one more, and that was your max. That's what we called it in the previous section, but now we're just going to call it turning points. We have one more to find. This other one is a min, so we push second trace, go down to min. Left bound is right about there. Right bound is right about there. We don't need to guess. 0.18, negative 10.37. 0.18, negative 10.37. And that's all there is to that. I've got two more examples coming up. This one was called a min.